College football is here. I spent all weekend in front of the TV and on the grill, which means, as far as I am concerned, it is fall, which also means it is time for our best stocks for September. So let's go ahead and break it down and jump straight into the list. The first one is a stock I did not ever expect to see on a list like this because I choose winners. Okay, I choose winners. This stock was down 20% over the last 5 years. But they got a new CEO and things have been changing. Boeing. Yes, that Boeing. Boeing is up 31% in the last 6 months, up 32% over last year. Now, again, as I mentioned, a part of it is because they have a new CEO. Another part of it is the aerospace and defense technology space. It has been good. Now, I didn't expect Boeing to be one of those stocks to be good in that category, but apparently this is one that popped up out of the radar. I thought I was wrong when I did a few scans of this space, and it has been popping. Okay, so it looks like it is finally, after 5 years, finally bottomed out and is starting to take off. So keep your eye on this one. If you haven't checked out that video that I did about it, you definitely want to check it out after this, and definitely check out the there's a button like right under this video that says subscribe so you can get notifications when I drop videos like that, because that might be the next one. Okay, so Boeing is definitely up there. Now this next one is a culprit, right? It's a recurring guest here that I think most of us should know about. It's Broadcom. ABGO is the stock symbol. That is up 49% in the last 6 months, up 82% over the last year. Going back to Boeing, BA is the stock symbol there, in case you didn't know. I don't think I need to do too much. We had talked about Broadcom being in the top 10 companies, top 10 most valuable companies in the S&P 500, and why that might not be the best thing, and how much value is in the top 10 versus the rest of the S&P 500. But Broadcom is extremely, extremely good and has been for quite some time now. If you don't have it in your portfolio, weigh your options there, because if you already have an S&P 500 index fund, which most people do, you might not want to double up, because again, if the top 10% or the top 10 companies represent almost 40%, right? I think it's like 37% of the value, then you also don't want to add more Broadcom there. Okay, so pay attention to what you own and whether or not you want to add that stock as well. But it depends on what you have currently. What is not currently well represented in index funds, which you might want to consider, is AutoZone. AutoZone, AZO, is up 20% in the last 6 months and up 31% over the last year. These types of stocks, really, because you guys know I've been a long time holder of O'Reilly's. AutoZone is the other side of that coin. Now, I'm somebody who likes these types of stocks that are somewhat defensive, but also a little bit of a growth stock, at least in terms of returns. But in the environment that we are in, right, we could be moving more towards an inflationary environment, but with tariffs, with the increase in the price of stuff going across the board, people are holding on to their cars a bit longer. Okay, they don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, which means they're spending money to keep their cars longer. And where are they shopping to do that? O'Reilly's is one, AutoZone is another, and I would argue that AutoZone is probably the best stock if you're looking to buy right now. So take a look at AutoZone and see if that is something that you want to consider adding to your portfolio. What I like about companies like AutoZone is a lot of times we all gravitate towards tech stocks because they tend to do the best, right? I mentioned Broadcom up 82% in the last 6 months, but companies like AutoZone, maybe you can throw Boeing in there too, but I like to choose companies that a lot of us understand, right, but also not in that tech space to kind of even out your portfolio and add a little bit more diversification. There are a lot of strong cases as to why you want to consider that too. And, you know, it's doing well, right? So you want to consider those pieces of it too. Now, this is a company that y'all submitted that's still doing well, so want to throw it out there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, all right? And that is GE. GE up 32% in the last 6 months, up 57% over the last year. Rinse, wash, repeat. Okay, everything I said in the last video about GE, copy, paste it. All right, all that same stuff. Don't need to repeat it there. What I do want to add that is new here, relatively new, is Royal Caribbean, RCL, up 100. That's not an error. Okay, that pause is not an error. It's just not something I expected. Okay, 117% in the last 6 months, 120% over the last year. Now, I need to be honest with you. Royal Caribbean is a stock that's been on my radar for months now. I have not brought it up. I haven't brought it up because I was a little scared. Okay, I expected tariffs to scare people from traveling. Okay, I was like, hey, I don't know if this is gonna last. Prices are gonna go up. People are not gonna want to travel. Maybe we're gonna go into a recession. Goldman Sachs and another major investment bank says it's gonna be a 60 or 70% chance of recession this year. We saw what happened when the market started to tank after Liberation Day. So I'm absorbing all this information thinking, I don't know if taking a cruise is going to be high on the meter of things people are going to want to do. So I don't know if I want to tell people about Royal Caribbean if it's good today, but I don't know if it's going to be good in September, right? I don't know if I'm going to put it on the February list if by September it's going to fall off a cliff. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, well, it's still here. I don't understand why, but people are still going on cruises. So it's up there. To be honest with you, I don't know why. Okay, but up 117%, as I mentioned earlier, in the last 6 months, up 120% over last year. I've been on those cruises. Those cruises are fun and all that type of stuff, but I don't understand it, especially with all the layoffs and all the other kind of stuff. Maybe people or maybe it's rich people going. I don't know. Y'all tell me. That's one I just do not utterly understand as to why this travel and leisure stock is doing as well as it is. I don't know. Uber is also on the list. Uber is up 23% in the last 6 months, up 28% over the last year. We've talked about Uber every now and then. I would say this is probably in the mid-tier. That's totally up to you. If you want to call Uber a tech company or a services company or whatever, I think most people classify it as a tech company because they are, coming up with the software, tell people where to go, and Uber Eats and everything in between. But I think that is what makes them attractive, very similar to DoorDash. They are also very attractive too for what they are trying to do. But I would say the biggest risk is just they don't have the longest track record. But again, for what we're trying to do, what is going to be good for the foreseeable future, next 6 months, next year, I think Uber is solid. Now, out of this entire list, which ones excite me the most? Like, which ones really catch my eye? I mean, honestly, all of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't bring it to you. But if I had to rank them, Boeing is the most exciting, okay? Because you would be catching what I think is the bottom. You're catching Boeing early. So if you go back and check out the Boeing video, you'll see that I talked about momentum, and you're not that late if you're getting into Boeing. If Boeing is what I think it is, then I think you're very early on the Boeing train. So that is very exciting. Broadcom we talked about, so I'm not calling it boring. I'm not calling it a bad investment because it ain't, right? But you probably already have some Broadcom at this point. GE is exciting, and then Royal Caribbean is confusing but good. So that those are the ones that really stand out. Royal Caribbean, Boeing, and I'll probably throw GE in there for reasons that we've talked about before. So those are the most exciting, but I think they're all extremely good. Now with these stocks, there is something that is missing. You might want to consider adding international stocks to your portfolio because international stocks are doing quite well. In fact, they're doing better, sometimes 3 times better than what the US is doing currently. If you want to know what are the best international stocks to add to your portfolio, you want to check out this video right here.